Amish teenagers live in America but can't participate in American teenage life. At 16, they face Rumspringa, the decision that determines their entire future. These 10 daily struggles reveal the intense pressure, temptation, and conflict young Amish experience before making life's biggest choice. Forbidden curiosity. Imagine being a teenager in 2025, living in a country where everyone carries a smartphone, but you've never been allowed to touch one. Amish teenagers watch English peers scroll through social media, text friends instantly, listen to music, watch videos, play games. They see this happening constantly, everywhere they go, yet they're forbidden from participating. The curiosity is overwhelming. What does it feel like to have that device that seems to contain everything? What's on the screens that make people laugh or stare for hours? The mystery of what they're missing creates constant mental tension. Some Amish teenagers sneak opportunities to glimpse phones when English friends show them things. A music video, a funny clip, a glimpse of social media. These brief exposures often intensify rather than satisfy curiosity, like showing a starving person a picture of food. The internal conflict is profound. They've been taught that technology corrupts, that simple living is spiritually superior. But their teenage brains scream that everyone else gets to experience this except them. The unfairness feels crushing. Isolation culture. The cultural isolation extends far beyond just technology. Amish teenagers have never seen a movie, never watched television, never listened to contemporary music. When English teenagers discuss the latest viral video, popular show, or trending song, Amish teens stand silent, understanding nothing being referenced. This creates profound feeling of being outsider in their own generation. Everyone their age shares a common cultural language they simply don't speak. The jokes don't make sense. The references fly over their heads. They exist in their age group but not of it, perpetually excluded from conversations that bond their peers. The wondering becomes its own torment. What does music with instruments actually sound like? What makes movies so captivating? They've been told these things are spiritually dangerous, yet everyone else seems fine engaging with them. Some Amish teenagers during Rumspringa gorge themselves on popular culture, trying to consume years of missed experiences in months. But catching up feels impossible, leaving them perpetually feeling behind and out of place. Limited education. Amish formal education ends at 8th grade, around age 14. While their English peers continue to high school and prepare for college, Amish teenagers transition directly to full-time manual labor. The disparity in educational opportunity creates resentment that's difficult to suppress. Some Amish teenagers possess exceptional intelligence with no outlet for development. A girl gifted in mathematics who could have become an engineer instead learns household management. A boy fascinated by science who could have pursued medicine instead learns farming. The waste of human potential is staggering. They watch their English peers continue learning, taking advanced classes, preparing for SATs, visiting colleges, planning careers. Meanwhile, Amish teens have already finished their formal education. Dreams of becoming doctors, teachers, artists, or scientists all die quietly, considered foolish fantasies. The community justifies limited education by arguing that too much learning leads to pride and questioning of traditions. The more educated Amish teenagers often struggle most with staying because they can envision alternatives more clearly. Strict dress code. Teenage years bring heightened awareness of appearance and desperate desire to fit in. For Amish teenagers, this crashes against rigid dress codes that make them visibly different everywhere they go. The plain clothing, distinctive haircuts, and prayer coverings for girls all mark them as outsiders. Boys endure bowl haircuts that English peers mock. Girls wear prayer coverings and long dresses that set them apart from every other teenage girl. The uniformity meant to promote humility instead creates conspicuousness, making them feel simultaneously invisible as individuals and hypervisible as specimens. The teenage desire to look attractive, to express individuality, to experiment with style all get crushed beneath community expectations. Amish teenagers aren't allowed makeup, jewelry, styled hair, or fashionable clothes. They watch English teens experiment with appearance while they wear identical plain clothes. The internal shame becomes toxic. They feel ugly compared to stylish English peers. They feel backward, old-fashioned, trapped in clothing from another century. But admitting these feelings brings correction for vanity. Small rebellions happen. Boys roll up sleeves, girls position covering slightly differently. These tiny violations bring both thrilling autonomy and crushing guilt. Manual labor. While English teenagers participate in sports, join clubs, attend dances, and enjoy social activities, Amish teenagers work. They work in fields, in barns, in workshops, performing physically demanding labor for hours every day after their education ends at 14. The physical exhaustion is real and damaging. Teenage bodies are still developing, yet they're expected to work as hard as adults. They lift heavy loads, perform repetitive motions, endure weather extremes. Injuries happen frequently. Bodies that should have decades of strength ahead get worn down in teenage years. But beyond the physical toll, the emotional cost of missing normal teenage experiences creates deep resentment. They watch English peers laugh at football games, perform in school plays, and develop talents in art classes. Amish teenagers develop only the skills needed for the life already chosen for them. The rare youth gatherings become precious because they're the only social outlet. Sunday evening singings allow Amish teenagers to gather, though even these are structured and supervised. The comparison to English teenage life becomes poisonous. Why should they work constantly while others play? The questions feel selfish, yet they persist. Parents' hard lives. Amish teenagers watch their parents age prematurely from decades of manual labor. They see their mothers pregnant repeatedly, bodies worn from bearing and raising 8 or 10 children. They watch their fathers' backs bend, hands gnarl, faces weather from years of outdoor work, and they understand with growing dread that this will be their life too. The mother's exhaustion is particularly visible, rising at 4:30 a.m. daily, working until late, managing households without modern appliances, bearing children every 2 years. Amish teenage girls watch their mothers and see their own futures, and some feel horror rather than acceptance. The father's injuries accumulate visibly, backs damaged from lifting, joints destroyed from repetitive work. Medical issues get ignored due to cost and cultural resistance to outside medical care. The suffering is normalized as God's will rather than potentially preventable hardship. Amish teenagers begin questioning whether this difficulty is truly necessary. They see English parents with easier lives, modern conveniences that reduce physical labor, medical care that addresses problems. Why do their parents reject these things? Limited interaction. Teenage hormones create intense interest in the opposite sex precisely when Amish rules most restrict interaction. Everything is supervised, private time is forbidden, physical contact before marriage is prohibited. Amish teenagers experience the same biological drives as all teenagers, but with none of the normal outlets. They watch English teenagers date freely, holding hands, kissing, developing romantic relationships with privacy. Meanwhile, Amish courtship is highly structured. A boy asks permission to drive a girl home from singing in his buggy. This buggy ride represents their only private time, though even then, propriety must be maintained. The sexual feelings have no appropriate outlet before marriage. Shame surrounds natural desires. Sex education is minimal, often limited to basic biology and stern warnings about sin. The wedding night becomes the first opportunity for real privacy, with both parties terrified and ignorant. The dating pool is extremely limited, restricted to others in the community. Sometimes this means considering cousins as potential spouses. The priority is marrying within the faith, even if that means limited genetic diversity. Outside opportunities. The cruelest aspect of being an intelligent Amish teenager is knowing that paths exist that will forever remain closed. They're aware that colleges exist, but forbidden to attend. They see career possibilities that their talents might suit, but that their faith prohibits pursuing. The girl, gifted in mathematics, will become a housewife. The boy, fascinated by science, will become a farmer. The artistic teenager will produce nothing beyond occasional sketches. The community needs farmers, carpenters, and housewives. Individual gifts that don't serve those needs are considered irrelevant. They watch their English peers take tests, stress about grades, visit colleges, plan careers according to their interests. Meanwhile, Amish teenagers plan which farm they'll work. Personal desires are considered selfish. Ambition is sinful. The resentment at wasted potential is complicated by guilt for feeling it. They've been taught that pride is dangerous, that thinking highly of their own abilities leads to spiritual destruction. Pressure from both sides. As Rumspringa approaches, Amish teenagers feel crushing pressure from opposing directions. The community pressure to stay is immense. Family members make clear that leaving would devastate them. Mothers cry at the thought. Fathers grow stern. Siblings beg them not to abandon the family. The threat of shunning looms over any decision to leave. Former Amish describe the pain of losing everyone they've ever known, attending family events as outsiders, watching their nieces and nephews grow up from a distance. But the English world also exerts powerful pull. Friends who've left describe freedom, technology, entertainment, education, career opportunities, dating without supervision, living without constant community surveillance. The teenagers feel they belong nowhere fully. They're too curious for the Amish community, but they're also too Amish for the English world. They exist in painful liminal space, not fitting completely in either world. Fear of making wrong choice. The terror of Rumspringa lies in its permanence. This decision, made at 16 or shortly after, determines the rest of their lives. Stay and be forever limited, but secure within the community. Leave and be forever free, but alone in a world they don't understand. There is no middle ground. One cannot be partially Amish. It's all or nothing, chosen at the age when the brain is least equipped for such permanent decisions. Neuroscience confirms what Amish teenagers feel instinctively. 16-year-old brains are not fully developed. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for long-term planning and impulse control, won't fully mature until the mid-20s. Yet the most consequential decision of their lives must be made now. With an underdeveloped decision-making capacity and minimal experience of the options they're choosing between. The community expects decisions quickly. Extended Rumspringa periods are viewed suspiciously. Those who delay commitment into their 20s face increasing pressure and judgment. The testing period becomes extended agony, sampling the English world while knowing the clock is ticking toward an unavoidable choice. Some teenagers use Rumspringa to go wild, partying, drinking, experimenting with drugs and sex. This behavior is sometimes rebellion, sometimes desperate attempt to experience everything forbidden before potentially choosing to return to restrictions forever. They try to compress an entire adolescence of experimentation into a brief window before the permanent decision must be made. Most choose to stay Amish. Statistics suggest 80 to 90% return and commit to the church. But 10 to 20% leave forever, losing family, friends, and identity to start over with nothing. They typically lack education beyond 8th grade. They have no job skills relevant to modern employment. The English world is overwhelming with its complexity and choices. Many who leave struggle financially and emotionally for years. But those who stay never stop wondering what if. They make the safe choice, the loving choice, the choice that keeps family intact. But they wonder for the rest of their lives what the other path would have brought. Whether their talents would have flourished in different soil. Whether they chose community over self or fear over courage. The question haunts them, unanswerable because the other life remains forever unexplored. Amish teenagers face pressures and struggles that most American teenagers never encounter. While their English peers stress about grades, college applications, and social media drama, Amish teens grapple with a decision that will determine whether they keep their families or pursue individual dreams. The choice between everything they've known and everything they've been taught to reject comes far too early, with far too little information, with far too much at stake. Understanding why most choose to stay requires recognizing what leaving costs. It's not just losing convenience or tradition. It's losing parents, siblings, cousins, friends, community, identity, language, culture,